I have some great news! We are getting more Villainous, but in an unexpected form. Alan Ituriel is returning to the wacky cartoon universe of Black Hat and his tortured subordinates to give us another story of a wannabe villain, Elizabeth Easton, or Illuminaro. It might not exactly roll off the tongue, but I think that the name will catch on. She's a rookie villain trying to make her way and name as a thief in a world already stuffed full of other villains and heroes. And I'm honestly really excited to see this show, and it's great to have Alan back on the indie scene where he first made his big splash with the Black Hat shorts that led to his show Villainous, produced by Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network. It's always a heartwarming and encouraging story when you see an independent creator's sweat and toil finally pay off in a big way and they get to make the show that they've always wanted. But wait, what exactly happened to Villainous? I thought the show was going strong. I mean, Miss Heed effectively broke the internet at one point. My video analyzing her episode is actually our best viewed on this channel. She, Dr. Flug, Black Hat 505, and Dementia are still all over the web, and there's significant support for the series. So where are the new episodes? Well, I did some research into what's unfolding behind the scenes at Warner Brothers, and it honestly feels like I've stumbled across some Who Framed Roger Rabbit levels of shenaniganery. In fact, it's no stretch to say that Villainous was shelved so Superman could fly, only for Soups to fall short at the box office. And now David Zaslav is trying to dance to the bank as fast as he can before his crazy gamble comes falling around his ears. This is a tale that exposes the short-sightedness of modern Hollywood, proves that producers have overstepped their bounds, and provides a cautionary lesson for all novice and independent creators. And we're going to get to all of that in this video. Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem, a channel for novice authors by novice authors, because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And let me just take another quick moment to praise Villainous and Alan Ituriel. If you haven't already watched it, the Villainous shorts and episodes that are available tell the hilarious misadventures of Black Hat's employees as they pull off the impossible and defeat various heroes at the behest of other struggling or incompetent villains, from whom Black Hat requires a chilling demonic payment. As the story progresses, you begin to see a larger conflict and schemes building up behind the scene. Seeing a Mexican cartoon show provide a fresh take on superheroes and supervillains as told from the perspective of the henchmen is a great way to go about things. I love it. Alan made such an impression on the indie scene that Cartoon Network happily entered into an agreement with him to produce a full series based on the concept he had made around his Black Hat shorts on YouTube. This show got its streaming run back in 2021, and then ended abruptly. Purportedly, there are still some episodes left in the hopper, just waiting to go out there. So if that's the case, then we really didn't get a full season. But why was Villainous slammed into the vault either as a full season or incomplete season when it was doing so well? This is where we need to address Warner Brothers. Even before the COVID pandemic, the studio had been hemorrhaging money on bad projects and trying to chase Disney's MCU. In the process, the company had put itself $50 billion in debt, and it needed to be rescued. After breaking off from AT&T, who really hadn't managed the studio well, a merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery was approved. David Zaslav was selected to be the new CEO of the merged company, and his goal was to rescue Warner Brothers from its bad business practices, eliminate as much debt as possible, make it a profitable company, and then turn it around and sell it. Kind of like being a house flipper.
Hi, my name's Rusty. I helped build this house a long time ago. I'm gonna blow it up. Fire in the hole! Now let's build a new house.
Now, that demolition part that we just watched is what a lot of people have focused on since Zaslav took over. So many projects were cut in order to cash in on tax breaks. Studios were shrunk or sold off for extra revenue. Rooster Teeth, for instance, was sold for parts. Cartoon Network was downsized, and jobs were outsourced. A greater focus was also put on streaming, and even the Looney Tunes was offered up as a sacrificial cow to make more money if possible. And here's something that I need to emphasize going forward into the rest of this video. Hollywood exists to sell itself. Back when Tinseltown first got started, Hollywood was all about telling amazing stories, but it needed strong business models to support the incredible ventures that it undertook. And it very quickly, through the love of business, money, and the power that came with all those dollars and capturing the public's imagination, basically took over the whole industry and made it more about making money and getting all that power rather than telling great stories. So to this day, and it even happened basically 100 years ago, you can see the switch. Hollywood began to exist merely to sell itself. Telling good stories and entertaining the masses is only secondary, and that is still the case today. You can see it especially with how they've been treating AI. And as I said, it's basically been this way now for 100 years. When it combines, though, great storytelling with a smart plan and budget, you get a match made in Tinseltown heaven. Like, for instance, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings.
My friends, you bow to no one.
Honestly, Warner Brothers wishes that it could chase that dream again. But getting back to the matter at hand, what happened to Villainous and why? Dang it! Well, contrary to popular reports, David Zaslav doesn't hate animation. I scoured the internet and couldn't find any direct references that said, look, this guy hates animation. It just seems like he does because of all the animated projects and studios that he has cut or downsized. And that comes actually down to a more disturbing trend, because like most leaders in Hollywood, especially over the past 2 decades, Zaslav sees it as a low-yield segment of a larger entertainment industry. And in order to make Warner Brothers profitable and sellable, he was A-okay with axing companies and projects that wouldn't pay out. And sadly, Villainous was not pulling in the numbers that a series like Adventure Time does. So it was easier to pull legal levers and stop the whole hype train for Villainous in order to redirect resources to other, bigger projects. Projects like Superman. With $50 billion in debt, getting lines of credit for new projects, especially projects that you hope could produce billions in revenue, it's very difficult. Since Warner Brothers is not like Universal Studios or Disney that can rely on a massive, expensive theme park industry to bring in extra revenue, Zaslav had to cut projects and redirect funds from all throughout the Warner Brothers greater apparatus. And he had to do it quick. The guy, just like his predecessors, believed that DC Comics could be used as a competitor to the MCU, and with Avengers Endgame already setting the high watermark for Disney's superheroes, Zaslav smelled an opportunity. Every little bit counted in order to fund poaching James Gunn from the MCU and building a brand new DC cinematic universe. At the same time, Warner Brothers didn't want to neglect other projects that it had going on. In fact, if you go through the production budgets and profits of every Warner Brothers movie made since 2020, you can see the company actually overcome their box office deficit and come out on top by midway of this year. In less than 5 years, David Zaslav turned things around for Warner Brothers. And so, hey, that's pretty good. But it's not just ticket sales and HBO Max subscriptions that he's after. These successes have been leveraged to make Warner Brothers stock go up, allowing the company to pull in funds from investors and thereby make the company look better than it actually is right now. Well, Zaslav still has managed to cut the company's debt from $50 billion down to $38 billion as of July 2025, so this turnaround looks really dang good, and with Dune supposedly set up to be a powerful franchise, and a return to Hogwarts in the works, and a growing repertoire of good horror movies, it all seems like Warner Brothers is a success, and David Zaslav is a financial genius. However, behind the scenes, it's not all that rosy. In fact, there are several large dead flies in the soup David is trying to sell. First of all those amazing financial gains by midway of this year are not anything that he could have banked on, meaning that, again, in order to make Superman fly, a bunch of other shows and movies had to be effectively axed or sent somewhere else, money redirected, thereby derailing a whole bunch of other projects just to make sure that the bloated budget of over $300 million could go to James Gunn's Superman, and tons of other money to create the infrastructure needed to make a billion-dollar franchise. And guess what? Superman failed. And I don't like saying that because I genuinely enjoyed the movie, but it did. Against a production advertising budget, again, of over $300 million, the movie just barely broke even or made any profit at all. What was supposed to be a billion-dollar opening at the box office to a franchise to save superheroes had a comparatively hollow opening. Even though Zaslav tried to say that the era of billion-dollar movies was over, several movies would beg to differ. The fact of the matter is that Warner Brothers' attempt at a comic book cinematic universe is not off to a great or optimistic start. And again, it came at a big cost. All the studios that have been shrunk, hacked up, sold for parts, and outsourced have weakened Warner Brothers, especially when it comes to animation, which is now on the rise. I mean, they still have got Cartoon Network, but it's a shell of its former self, and their best stuff is not anything new or inventive, but continuations of already existing shows. Dune only has one more good movie left in it to pull in the old fans and try to inspire new ones before they get into the realm of books that no one has really read. And the return of Harry Potter is littered already with controversies. There's no guarantee that it will land well. And in the wake of this massive gamble are the broken dreams of creators like Alan and shut-up projects like Villainous. And what's happened to Villainous and so many other projects closed up or canceled in order to fund more ambitious movies and shows has made Warner Brothers at first look good, but it actually hasn't fixed the problem yet. That $38 billion debt is still a massive millstone around the company's neck, and Discovery is trying to sell them off quickly before the already doomed streaming model becomes an even greater liability, because they're discovering, see what I did there, much like Disney has but refuses to admit, that without other distributors and hard copies to sell, you're just taking money from one pocket and moving it to the other.
We took our shifting losses and we put them into businesses that we actually own. And in the balance sheet, it showed profit. But actually there was debt.
Ultimately, David Zaslav is like every other overreaching producer in Hollywood, focused on the money and not on the creative vision. He's a grinning showman gambler who bet big on several large projects, produced fairly good results in a short time, and made the company look great. But like anyone flipping a house, there are real questions about the quality of the work underneath the new coat of paint. The debts are still there. Stocks get shaken up all the time. It's no guarantee. And Warner Brothers' portfolio is shaky with only a handful of really big successes that can be worked on from this point going forward. On top of that, again, the streaming service is not necessarily where the big money is long term. This has already been shown thanks to companies like Disney, and their animation arm has been crippled at the worst time possible when anime, indie animation, and other studios are beginning to step up their game and bringing us into a new age of storytelling. Making a big fuss about selling Warner Brothers right now is all to capitalize on a high before it comes crashing down and their investment turns to loss. But to end on a high note, again, this is not the end of Villainous. Alan Ituriel managed to retain enough creative control in his contract that he can continue telling stories in his fictional universe. And if Ties of Thieves does exceptionally well, he can even leverage that to get more Villainous released on provable popular demand. If not, he can at least get to keep making the stories he wants. This is the new freedom that indie animators are beginning to explore and navigate thanks to recent wins between their corner of the entertainment industry and the rest of Hollywood. So when Ties of Thieves premieres, I hope we can give it all our warmest support. But at the same time, this is a cautionary tale, though, for my fellow novice authors. Alan Ituriel teamed up with Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers in the first place because there's only so much indie creators can do. There's a lot that you can do as an indie creator, but without the infrastructure and funding of a larger company, you will always be limited. However, joining up with another company, whether an animation studio or a publishing house, you are giving up an amount of autonomy and control over your project. Some studios even ask for all of it, like Disney, although that is now getting challenged by some creators. The normal contracts still extract a heavy toll from independent creators, though, so that's something to bear in mind. But all of this does mean that now, especially thanks to strides being made by Studio Glitch or Glitch Productions, you have a better chance of making your story everything that you've dreamed thanks to greater control. But then you are still legally bound to your partners and they can take that dream away from you. So it's important to weigh your options as an independent creator. Think about what you dream for your story. What is your dream for your story? What do you want it to be at the end of the day? Consider the costs and benefits of teaming up with a larger partner, and as always, do your best for your story. But just know that without the infrastructure of the mainstream entertainment industry, making millions of dollars or becoming worldwide famous are almost pipe dreams. There are some who have managed to do it, but honestly, that's because Lady Luck has smiled down on them, and she only smiles down on a few people every year at random, so there's no way that you can just roll the dice and hope that it's going to happen for you. That's the unfortunate truth. So if you're going to work with a publishing house or studio, make sure that you understand whatever contracts are offered to you. Get legal help. Make sure that you get the most favorable terms possible and retain as many creative rights as you can. And I'll say this, it's actually easier for an author like myself because publishing houses are only after the right to print your books. If they're asking for creative control, they're planning to cheat you. So don't sign it if you're an author. Do not sign that contract. But it is admittedly way different in the world of animation because studios want to be able to make the most of their massive investments in you. So again, carefully consider any contracts you get and go over them with legal counsel. I cannot stress that enough. But none of that matters unless you get to writing and make your story right now the best it can be, because your stories need you need your stories, and the world needs your stories, especially in the wake of men like David Zaslav. So, those are my thoughts and the results of my investigation. Villainous was ruined by David Zaslav as he paved the way forward for Superman through the world of animation, bulldozing it, destroying it, only to screw up so many projects in the process. And now he's trying to cash in on this spectacle and trying to get out before, well, Valiant catches up with him and locks him away, preferably with Pepe Le Pew. Now, if you're looking, though, for more analyses, reviews, writing lessons, and insights, check out our other videos here. And if you found this video fun or informative, then please subscribe and share it with others. And if you'd really like to support me, then check out the books that I've published. Links for them are in the description below. Thank you for joining me on this search for villainous in the greater adventure that we call writing. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.